I am finding that divorce is happening not only among typical married couples but also within traditional religious groups. It has been suggested that an immoral lifestyle is the cause of the desire for divorce, although it is possible that the woman is the one who makes the initial move to end the marriage. Repression within pagan religion, poor male characteristics, poor female characteristics, and so on. One thing that is consistent across all of the examples, however, is that the individuals believe that they are the authors of their own lives. Imagine that one's life is a story, and that person wants to control the pen that writes that story. This may sound reasonable and admirable, but throughout most of human history, no one has been able to change the condition of their marriage. Marriages have a better chance of succeeding when either one of the partners agrees to whatever the other partner desires or both partners agree to whatever a third party desires. Throughout history, arranged marriages have been the standard practice. In fact, in most societies, individuals are not the authors of their own lives. One has the ability to assert authorship over their lives, which frequently results in divorce if the individual in question decides to get more somewhere else if they assert authorship over their lives. Then there is no chance of a relationship happening. The vast majority of men give in to love, and they learn to compromise in order to maintain happy marriages. Studies have shown that men typically give in to what their wives want, contrary to the common perception that marriage is supposed to be about a person's contentment. In the past, respect was shown for households and extensive family trees. The aristocracy took great care to preserve their family line, but even the peasants placed a strong emphasis on the importance of family. However, there was less of a nuclear family and more young couples. Frequently moved in with their parents for generations could be living in the same house. Marriage was a way for families to become closer, and this was seen as a significant effect on its own. There was no atomization, rather, the heritage was passed down from generation to generation, with young sons inheriting family farms and businesses or rising to the position of king. The revolutionary change has not been the result of marriage or sexual mores. The complete elimination of heritage, on the other hand, has led to a situation in which no one is concerned about the continuation of the family line. In those days, it was unthinkable for a woman to have children by more than one man because people understood that this would undermine the institution of marriage. Because there was a family line, and marriage was seen as an extension of that line, whereas today marriage is legally and metaphorically seen as a contract of consensus, people did not tolerate single mothers. One could describe this as people being duct taped together. Because of the family line as evidence of how highly esteemed the family line was, consider the bastard in Shakespeare. The bastard played the majority of the roles of the antagonists in Shakespeare's plays. It is not a coincidence that the elimination of the family line has resulted in disruptions in reproduction rates that are lower than the levels needed to replace them. The bastard was an outcast. People who wanted to keep their family line alive had a lot of children, so the family continued to grow. For more than a century, women have used love to convince men to give up their rights to their families. Therefore, she asserts authorship over her life, and she expects men to submit to her will, despite the fact that many young women in today's society have even abandoned the pretense that they are in love with their partners. In any case, I have endeavored to persuade them that launching an assault on romance will not be beneficial to the long-term plans they have. They do not listen, and then they wonder why it is important that they are by themselves. A happy marriage is one that lasts a long time, not one that has few children and sends the husband to an early grave. A happy marriage should result in more people living on this planet than it started with. When the married couple had their first child, a successful marriage should have had some sort of wealth to pass down to their heirs. However, even a poor old farm would be considered a family line created by a successful marriage. This indicates that modern marriages that are successful do not exist. There is no wealth to be passed down, there are no children other than a replacement or two, and there is no family line. Therefore, it would not be beneficial for a successful marriage for either partner to claim authorship of their lives. Successful marriages appear to be those in which neither partner does so. They allowed family, religion, or some other factor to serve in the authorship role. It is this lack of authorship that is considered restrictive of individual liberty. Therefore, when someone, especially a feminist, says a woman needs more freedom, it's true that women were subject to more restrictions in those days, but she still aspires to have the freedom to write books. However, it is also true that men were controlled, and despite the fact that we may protest this non-authorship today, the results cannot be denied in nations where the language spoken is not English. We can see some remnants of this practice still in operation in China, where the continuation of the family line is so highly valued that people are willing to murder their own daughters. Because of the high regard that Mormons have for their families and the importance they place on having male heirs, the religion's popularity in the United States is exploding. It is not a case of mere happenstance that a Mormon church houses one of the most extensive genealogical research libraries in the world. Mozart's education was very controlled, very constricted, and steeped in mathematics. However, a common modern fallacy is the belief that creativity means the absence of controls or constrictions. In reality, creativity was the exact opposite of what people believe it to be. And despite all of this, diamonds were created by the intense heat and pressure. A bad poet is one who does not understand the mathematics that lies behind the music or the construction of language. Only release their emotions like gas through activities such as working out, accomplishing new goals, excellent painting, poetry, or writing. It all depends on having definite controls. If someone walked into a gym, declared that they were going to become the author of their own body, and then began doing one exercise after another in a haphazard manner, people would think that they were crazy. It is the same way with our minds. If you read comic books, you will have a lower IQ compared to someone who has read Plato. In order to get anywhere in life, one must push, and pushing implies having restrictions. It is well known that children favor order over chaos. However, when it comes to dating and love, there is often confusion. Because there is no system, there are no controls, and there is nothing else, courtship is dead. The more stringent the rules that we impose on ourselves, the happier we will be. When someone acts in accordance with who they are, we become the key to improving our lives, which is to improve your standards for yourself. They are happy. For example, a painter who just paints is happy, but if that painter decides to become a banker in order to get more money or some other benefit, he will be unhappy despite the fact that he has achieved his goal. We get bent when we allow what we want to interfere with who we are. In order to solve the problem of marriage, we need to ask who marriage is rather than what I want out of marriage. I fully anticipate that everyone will disagree with this point, but I believe that this is because people still have the hope that relationships can occur. People are so focused on their wants that they do not even notice each other. They are in a committed relationship with their wants and are working hard to fulfill them, but wants can change quickly. They morph and proliferate, which is why women are never content. They fall in love with their wants, not men, which is why they are never satisfied.